Imagine if you rob a bank and get busted. You only have to return half of the money and you never go to jail. That's the equivalent of the Purdue settlement. I'm sure that you have heard about Purdue Pharma, OxyContin, and the Sackler family.
The Sackler family is so wealthy, there's a wing at New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art named after them. They own Purdue Pharma, the maker of one of the most widely prescribed and abused painkillers in America, OxyContin. In 2001, when Richard Sackler was head of the company, he wrote this email. "We have to hammer on abusers in every way possible," he wrote. "They are the culprits and the problem. They are reckless criminals." The emails are part of a court filing by the Massachusetts Attorney General. The filing alleges Richard Sackler directed Purdue staff not to tell doctors the truth about how powerful OxyContin was.
We now know that Purdue and Sackler family were pushing for the strongest possible dosage to be prescribed because they made more money. The stronger the dosage, the more money they made. But the stronger the dosage, the more people died.
We got updated information on the biggest medical scam in history. In 2023, more than 111,000 people died from opioid-related overdoses. And since 2001, more than 1 million people lost their life. The Sackler family have made more than $35 billion from OxyContin. Did one family get the nation hooked on opioids? And if they did, it was probably by accident, right? Purdue Pharma is owned by the Sackler family. In recent years, the family is facing thousands of lawsuits filed by state, local governments, hospitals, and individuals. They spent years and millions trying to make the lawsuits disappear.
It's being hailed by the federal government as a major victory against a company whose drug, OxyContin, is part of the public health crisis of opioid addiction that has led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Americans.
The maker of OxyContin admitted to defrauding regulators and paying illegal kickbacks to doctors.
It may sound like good news that Purdue pled guilty to multiple felonies. The guilty plea is part of a larger scam that we will get into later. The maker of OxyContin, Purdue Pharma, have filed for bankruptcy, offers a restructuring plan, and the Sackler family will give up ownership of the company. This sounds like a huge victory, where the people responsible are taking significant consequences, but that is only what it sounds like. Let's talk about the details of the deal they offer and the reason why it is a bad deal. The Sacklers are the descendants of three brothers, Arthur, Raymond, and Mortimer. In 1952, they bought the company that eventually would become Purdue Pharma. Arthur sold his shares before OxyContin, while Raymond and Mortimer's bloodline made billions of dollars from making and selling an extremely addictive product. OxyContin was sold as if it was almost impossible to get addicted. It was advertised as less than 1% chance of addiction, while in reality, they knew that the number was ridiculously high. Members of the Sackler family either worked at the company or served on its board. Some of them were pretty aggressive.
In the boardroom, they own the company. We have emails and memos that show the direct control that they exercised over sales and marketing. One of the Sackler family members went so far as to want to get in the car with Purdue sales reps and drive around to visit doctors' offices.
That's funny. They were doing a drug rep ride along, making sure that the sales team do an amazing job representing the product. President of the company for years, Richard Sackler, was responsible for the drug rep ride along. Here is a video of Richard exposing what he knows about Purdue.
How much money has Purdue Frederick or Purdue Pharma made off the sale of OxyContin?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know. I don't know, but I just don't know.
Richard was the most involved, but he was not alone. His cousin Kathy was an officer of the company for years and claimed in emails that developing OxyContin was her idea. She was called before Congress last year, asked to apologize for her role in the opioid crisis. This is what she had to say.
I have tried to figure out, is there anything that I could have done differently, knowing what I knew then, not what I know now? And I have to say, there's nothing that I can find that I would have done differently.
The details of what the Sacklers are doing is complicated, but the end result is simple. The deal you heard about earlier, where Perdue pled guilty to 3 felonies, may sound like great news. Because the company filed for bankruptcy and pled guilty to the charges, not one of the Sacklers got in trouble. The bankruptcy deal was the vehicle used to escape all true accountability. Basically, Perdue was buried in thousands of lawsuits. Rather than fighting them separately, the company filed for bankruptcy and negotiated to resolve all of the lawsuits and money claims in one place. This deal requires the Sacklers relinquished ownership of Perdue, which will be turned into a public benefit company, and all profit will be used to fight the opioid epidemic. Perdue claims that bankruptcy will deliver more than $10 billion in value. The Sacklers are contributing to around 60% of that total $10 billion. That sounds like a lot of money until you consider that the total amount they made from OxyContin is above $35 billion. From 2008 to 2017, as the opioid crisis was kicking into high gear, more than $10 billion was transferred out of the company and to the family. The Sacklers fiercely maintained that all transfers were proper, but the DOJ alleged they were made with the intent to hinder future creditors. At one point, it was around 400 civil lawsuits that name the Sacklers, but the family will only agree to the settlement if they get what is called a non-consensual third-party release. If they get it, all current lawsuits evaporate and no future lawsuits can be filed, meaning that the family are basically in the safe zone. A company can declare bankruptcy and a bunch of individuals will get shielded from all liability and consequences. In fact, some bankruptcy courts don't allow these shady third-party releases at all. But Perdue chose one that they knew would allow this deal. A few months before filing for bankruptcy, Perdue changed its official corporate address to one in White Plains, New York. The company has never conducted business at that address. In White Plains, there is only one bankruptcy judge who coincidentally supports third-party releases. The Sacklers' third-party release is comprehensive, stating that the release parties shall be conclusively, absolutely, unconditionally, forever and permanently released from all claims of any kind, since the beginning of time. This is the list of every person, company, and trust funds they want covered. It contains more than 200 companies and 200 more trusts where the Sacklers have tucked away their money. That's probably why the AGS of 9 states, the DC, and the DOJ said that it violates the Constitution and it deprives individuals of an opportunity to be heard. Despite that, the deal went through. Right now, under this settlement, claimants could receive payments from $3,500 all the way up to $48,000. Some are happy with the settlement, but for some of the victims, the opportunity to be heard is worth much more than $48,000. This is probably the best deal the victims could get. Imagine that you are behind producing and selling OxyContin. You advertise it as less than 1% chance of addiction, while in reality, you know that it is highly addictive. You make $35 billion, but people get hooked and die. How many billions is it right for you to keep? The total amount they agreed to pay, between $6 and $8 billion, is spread over 9 years. The biggest payment is at the end of those 9 years. It means that they probably will make that amount back in interest and other safe investments and never touch the principal money. One thing is for sure, when they are done paying in 2030, they will be much richer than today. Perdue's secrecy will be put in the light. The last thing this deal requires is the release of 30 million documents, including deposition videos and every non-privileged email. Do you think justice was served? Do you have any experience with this type of medication? Leave a comment. I would love to know your opinion on this case.